Welcome, GSPers. We're so happy to see you. I am Reverend Ebony Grisom. I'm the Protestant chaplain here at Georgetown.
And my name is Madeline Vitek Memenza. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an associate director here in our Office of Campus Ministry. We just want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about what we do here in Campus Ministry, but also share a little bit more about our own college journeys and why we're so excited to accompany you on yours.
Campus Ministry accompanies students around meaning, belonging, and purpose. We have full-time chaplains in several faith traditions, not just Catholic, even though Georgetown is Catholic, but Protestant. Those are Christians who are not Catholic or Orthodox. We have a Jewish rabbi, a Muslim imam, a Russian Orthodox archpriest, and a Hindu monk priest. We also support students across many different faith traditions, such as Buddhist, Sikh, Latter-day Saints, and probably some of everybody else too. We are happy, we'd be happy to help you start a group in your own tradition if if you don't feel like you fit into any of these.
Often, a barrier to attending a new or unfamiliar religious service is not knowing what to do. When do I sit? When do I stand? What do I call the person in charge of the religious service? So we want you to know that in addition to sharing our religious services calendar with you and encouraging you to check out a tradition that's unfamiliar to you virtually, we'll also be sharing a link and making sure that you get a guide to religious services at Georgetown. So you can feel comfortable showing up in that setting or attending a service with a friend of yours who's from a different tradition. We also really want to encourage you to sign up for Escape. I hope you've heard of it already, but Escape is a first-year overnight retreat just designed as a space to reflect on where you've been, where you are, where you're going, how Georgetown's going, and just a chance to build community. One of your classmates who attended last November summed it up best. They said, "Escape is the first event at Georgetown that has truly made me feel like a Hoya." We'll be sure to get you information about Escape as well, but please make sure you sign up. Nearly every sophomore, junior, or senior I talked to who didn't go tells me they regret not going. In any case, enough about campus ministry. Just know that you can follow us on Instagram at Georgetown OCM, where you can find the latest information about what we're up to, and maybe support me in my campaign to get our chaplains to learn TikTok dances. In the meantime, Reverend Grisom and myself would just love to chat a little bit more about our college journeys. So I'm just gonna ask a couple of questions and we'll popcorn style this. Reverend Grisom, to start, could you share with me how have your salient identities helped you to navigate college and where you went?
Sure. I went to college at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. The salient identities, well, first I'll name the ones that really helped me to navigate college. I identify as Black or African American, woman, and I'm a New Yorker. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal, especially the latter, being going to college in North Carolina because people talked about my accent and and my clothes and all kinds of things. But there were also a lot of other New Yorkers and people from the tri-state area there. But because I went to a large institution, it was intimidating for me, in some ways, especially since I came from a small high school. But being able to find my people, being able to find people who were interested in the same kinds of things that I was interested in, being able to having the opportunity to join a sorority, having the opportunity to study history and African American studies in particular, really helped me to navigate college. Well, what about you, Madeline? Tell me
Yeah,
about
I
yours.
would I would say primarily just being a first generation low SES college student coming into I went to Seattle University, which was a private Jesuit school like Georgetown on the West Coast, which is where I'm from. Um, it was hard because I didn't know how to college. Um, I I picked classes based on how they worked around my work study, like my job schedule, because I needed to make money. Instead of picking like the really good professors that would have made my experience enriching and whatever. Um, and that shaped my experience because I spent a lot of time just trying to pass. There were a lot of like upper middle class folks, and I just always thought that I was middle class, and then I didn't realize that I wasn't until I went to college, if that makes sense. And so I spent a lot of time trying to pass and just trying to figure out. I was intimidated to talk to professors. Um, Sometimes I felt like an imposter, or like maybe I shouldn't be there. And then also, it was the first time I encountered or was critically challenged to think about my whiteness. And
Mm,
as a 19-year-old, there were times where I reacted like really defensively and badly to that. And I'm grateful that
mm,
I had mentors to kind of be patient with me and just kind of help me learn about my experiences and the way they, and not just let me sit in my social class
mm,
or my queerness
mm,
as a way to escape accountability around whiteness. So
mm.
yeah, college opened
That's
my
powerful.
world. Yeah.
That's powerful.
So
Yay, courage.
some of the things you mentioned, what barriers did you encounter as a student, and what support did you seek while you were in college to help you overcome those barriers?
Probably the most the barrier that remains with me, that I remember rather most about college actually, is tuition. As I said, I'm from New York. I went to college in North Carolina, so the out of state tuition was just astronomical. And every semester there was this scramble um, to get the last like $2,000
Yep.
in order in order to register. But part of how I'm actually really grateful for that experience, because it taught me how to be brave and to advocate for myself, to be able to go to the appropriate offices to secure funding, to be able to talk to my professors, to ask if I could just sit in a class, and to explain to them the situation and say, can I stay here? I know everything is going to work out though. I haven't registered yet. And to a person, they all let me stay and were really supportive of me. Nobody wrote me a check, but they were really supportive of me in, in giving me the opportunity
Are they
to.
paying your loans now? No?
Right. No, but I need to find them on social media to see if they want to contribute. And I already also mentioned that I went to a large school. Part of the way that I navigated that was choosing, sort of unintentionally, but choosing a small department, so that all of my professors knew me pretty well, almost too well, and I knew them really well too. And that enhanced my personal life. It certainly enhanced my academic life. I had the opportunity to experience some things that I just would not have, had I been one of 300 or 400 students sitting in a classroom, and really developed close relationships with mentors,
Yep.
mostly women, some men, but mostly women. So really
Yeah.
grateful. What about you, Madeline?
What you talked about trying to piece together the tuition bill really resonated with me because like my mom would do a little bit. She was a single parent. I'd try to reach out to my dad, see if he could do a little bit. Um, I'll name I was fortunate, and my aunt and my grandmother would, but it would be like phone calls to them and like
Yeah,
dividing up the amount due and
right.
keeping track of it, and how are we going to keep track of this money. Um, and then doing it all again the next academic term ad infinitum until I die. Um, and the money part was really real. I'm 35 years old and I just paid off my student loans from Seattle U, which is like
Woo!
I'm very proud of. But the financial piece was a
That's
barrier.
excellent.
And again,
That's
I
really
mentioned this, but like not knowing how to college, I couldn't call home and ask for help with college limits because my mom was just like, you're at college, like you made it. You have all this free time. You should be getting everything done, and you have all this free time to be getting jobs. And the support from my family was there in a very general sense, but like not in this specific sense of like, oh, seek out this specific office, or like, oh, when
right.
I had this problem when I was in college, I talked to this person, or like they didn't know anyone at my school. Because they weren't like an alum of it. So I think that was really hard for me personally. Um,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
our next question is how has your kind of given all that you've shared about your personal experience, how has that inspired you to work at Georgetown and to support students today?
Well, one thing that I didn't name, I well, I alluded to, I went to a small high school, but that high school was Catholic,
Mm,
lay Catholic. And so I grew in this formation, of being in it but not of it, going
mm,
to mass and participating in services for high holy days, and not having meat during Lent, even though I didn't understand why. Um, so that I look back on that time now, and especially when I was in seminary, things that I learned, I took theology all 4 years. Uh, so many things made more sense about my high school. So many things about my high school experience made more sense as I came into an adult and certainly heard the call to ministry. So I just grew up being really comfortable being not Catholic in a Catholic environment and having
mm,
lots of Catholic friends and worshiping in Catholic spaces, and really having the opportunity to experience the fullness, just the wholeness of God's humanity, to be able, the oneness of the church, especially. So, really grateful for my own ecumenical formation, so that
mm.
now that I'm someplace like Georgetown, where I work in an interfaith, I mean, I'm in the Protestant chaplaincy, but I work with colleagues who represent a variety of faith
Yeah,
traditions. And I feel, I still feel comfortable. I feel at home. I feel
yeah,
part of a piece to the puzzle. So, and really grateful for our ability to embody God's diversity in that way. I love that you went to a Jesuit Catholic college. So, tell us, so how has that inspired you to come to work at Georgetown?
yeah. I mean, I knew that, after I went to graduate school, I was lucky to get a fully funded assistantship.
Great.
I always tell students, don't pay for grad school if you could possibly avoid it.
Yes.
But I knew that I wanted to go back into Jesuit higher ed, and I wanted to work with college students, because at a Jesuit college, people care more about the person you're becoming than what's on your resume. And that was really valuable to me. So college opened my world, and I wanted to be part of that for students. But college also really sucks sometimes, and I felt out of place more often than not. And so I wanted to go into higher ed so that I could be that person in somebody's corner saying, no, you belong. It's the system that's screwed up. It's this place that's kind of screwed up, not you.
Yeah.
And so let's figure out how to navigate this place that can be kind of ridiculous sometimes. Um, you know, I think every college student should find 3 to 5 people who receive a paycheck from Georgetown who have your back, because your friends and family are biased, and that doesn't have to be a professor. It can be your community director. It can be anybody. It can be an Airmark employee that you see every day at Leo's, for example. It can be Rev Grissom and me. Count yourself as having two already. But just know that, like, we have your back. We made this journey as well, and we're just so excited that you're here. We do hope you check us out in campus ministry, even if and especially if you are not religious. Um,
Yeah.
and just know that we're here for you, and we're so glad you're here, and we'll be
So
in
glad
touch
to be
soon.
here. Can't wait to see you in our Zoom room.
Yeah,
Come see us.
yes. All right, bye, GSPers.
Bye bye.